Hi guys, welcome to my channel where we talk about everything from tech to films and all the fun stuff in between. So guys, this question keeps coming up quite a lot from users, and even I've seen several forums discussing the same topic, as this really is a very close call. Which one to choose? The 256GB iPad Air 4 costing at $749 or £729, or the 128GB base iPad Pro 2020 11-inch model which costs £769 or $799. Actually, I've seen the iPad Pro 2020 11-inch on sale from authorized resellers for about £700 or $700. So in fact, you probably could get the Pro for a cheaper cost than that 256GB iPad Air 4. So in such cases, which one would you choose? Let me see if I can explain things in this video which could help you make the right decision. Just before proceeding guys, please do subscribe and show your support so I can continue making fun and informative content for you. Let's get on with the video. Before we jump into storage option, let's look at the power which these two devices are packing. See, the Pro iPad lineup always gets higher end configurations and more RAM than any other iPad lineup. And even in this case, it gets 6 gigs of RAM, the highest in any iOS devices until the iPhone 12 Pro Max joined this slot. The processors of the iPad Pro lineup also get a variant of the standard Apple ARM processors, which are specifically tweaked by adding extra CPU and GPU cores. This is to help the Pro perform better for various graphic and resource intensive tasks which most Pro users use. So the A12Z variant in the iPad Pro gets a whopping 8-core CPU and an 8-core GPU, and straight away looking at the numbers, it seriously outperforms the 6-core CPU and a measly 4-core GPU and 4 gigs of RAM of that iPad Air 4. But numbers don't tell the whole thing here guys. The A12Z, even though it's launched in March 2020, is still based on the A12 chip architecture, which is like 2 years old. 2 years is a lot of time in technical advancements guys, and in this 2 years Apple perfected the 5nm architecture, and the iPad Air 4 is the first product not just from Apple but first product in history to get this new technology in the form of A14 Bionic chip which is in the iPad Air 4. And this insane chip fabrication totally makes up for the absence of that extra CPU, GPU cores and even the extra 2 gigs of RAM. In my side-to-side speed test comparison, the iPad Air 4 outperformed the Pro 2020 in most of the tasks. All the commonly used apps open quicker, including heavy and graphic intensive apps such as games and photo/video editing apps. And it even kept up with 4K video rendering just by being a few seconds behind the Pro. So ideally, if you want the latest and the greatest, then the Air 4 is the one to go for. Now, that doesn't mean that Pro performs badly here, and for most casual users, you won't even notice this delay as it's just a fraction of a second. And if you're worried about the longevity of the device, then looking at Apple's history, devices with more RAM are always supported for more years compared to the ones with lesser RAM. Even though Apple doesn't mention the RAM anywhere on the box or on the website, it seems like the OS is dependent on the RAM as much as it is on the processor. So based on all this, both the Pro and the Air 4 should last you around the same amount of time when it comes to software support and software updates. Again guys, I'm basing this on assumptions considering Apple's previous history on support of iPads and iOS devices. Next, let's move on to storage, a more tricky comparison point, and hopefully this answers the question on which storage option you should get. I even had questions asking that should I go for the 256 gigabytes as I want to keep the iPad for the next 5 to 6 years, as 64 gigabytes feels way too low. To answer this question, let's look at the apps which take up the most space. First, they are games. If you see, I have Fortnite here, which takes up over 10 gigabytes, but I don't think you can download it anymore. But the next closest ones are as it shows. So you do get the picture. If you're a person who downloads and keeps loads of games or use iPad primarily for gaming, then the 64 gigabytes will get taken up pretty soon. Next, if you have a huge photo and music library, it will take up a lot of memory. For me, the iPhone does most of the heavyweight here, guys, because I do use iCloud storage, and that takes care of my insane photo and 4K video library. So if you're using your iPad for storing loads of photos and videos, then you will need more storage. Next is movies. If you're like me and you download and store movies, again, this will eat up storage quite quickly. I mean, if you look at this, I just bought Tenet. I didn't download the film completely, I streamed it, but if you want to save it, it's 6 gigabytes. Interstellar is like 7 gigabytes. Passengers, another 5. So you get the picture. All this quickly adds up. Now, if you're a person who streams films and do not install too many apps on the iPad, then 64 gigabytes, that base storage, is perfectly fine for you. Take my wife's iPad Air for instance. She streams movies, never downloads or stores them. She also uses her iPad for photo and video editing and writing documents, but she always transfers them onto a USB pen drive for storage. This SanDisk pen drive costs only £20 and gives you an additional 128 gigabytes of storage. Even with games, as you can see, she's a casual gamer and she does have a few installed, but nothing too heavy and nothing which is taking up too much storage. Also, photos and videos, again, it's her iPhone that takes the bulk of it, and we do use cloud storage, which kind of helps. So for her, 64 gigabytes is totally adequate. Now, if you take my case, I save movies and then I have games and productivity apps installed. I edit all my YouTube content, including thumbnails, on my iPad Pro, so you can see LumaFusion does take up quite a lot of storage. I usually save 3 to 4 of my last projects. So with 64 gigabytes, I had to be more cautious, but with double that storage, I'm pretty relaxed. The storage is already reaching 90 gigabytes, but guys, I've got lots of files in here which are no longer needed. I need to tidy them up once. So I can definitely say that 128 gigabytes is more comfortable. Now, if you want to use ebooks and want to use the iPad for your studies or coursework, then usually ebooks do not take that much of storage. If you see, the Steve Jobs autobiography takes up about 6 megabytes, that's it. This book about Swift programming language takes about just 1.8 megabytes. And the project management for dummies, which is quite a lot of graphic intensive ebook, takes up about 250 megabytes. So I think you'll be more than covered for ebooks with the base 64 gigabyte storage. And out of the box, if you delete all the Apple pre-installed apps, which you probably won't need, then you get about 55 gigabytes of free storage space available to you right away. This is after considering what the OS and the additional cache takes up. So it's pretty neat here, guys. So in conclusion, even if you're going to keep that iPad for a few years, if your requirement does not include all these storage guzzling points which I mentioned till now, then you'd be fine with 64 gigabytes. And then you can always have the option to add a pen drive for external storage. I know you can't install apps on it, but you can carry all your ebooks, pictures, and video files on that. And then iCloud is always an option. I know you need to pay for it monthly, but this also acts as a backup, which is pretty important, and it will not make you lose stuff just in case your iPad is bricked or you break your iPad. But if you're that user who needs more storage and want to be comfortable without worrying about running out of space to save your files, then the iPad Pro seems like a better bet. You get twice the base storage when compared to the Air 4, but you also get ProMotion display, which, even if you don't use apps that take advantage of it or play games, you'll still benefit a lot, because still general scrolling and transitions appear very smoother and everything feels a bit quicker. And then added to that, you also get better cameras, LiDAR scanner for more accuracy in AI apps, slightly brighter screen, Face ID system with portrait mode on the front camera, studio quality microphones, and a better quad audio speaker system. Even if you have to pay full price for the iPad Pro, which I think at this point is highly unlikely, then that additional $50 gives you all these extra features, which is an amazing bargain. And if you find that iPad Pro for $700 price point, then needless to say, it is one hell of a deal. And coming to iPad Air 4, the additional $150 will just give you extra storage and nothing else. You'll be paying all that money just for the additional storage. So really the best value iPad Air 4 is that base 64GB version. Paying more is not really ideal for the Air 4, and if you're keen to get that newer processor, then just wait until March and see if Apple will update their Pro lineup with an insanely faster variation of the A14 Bionic chip. Or even crazier, if the rumors are going to be true, then the next iPad Pro will be getting that insane M1 chip which is in the new Macs. And if this is going to be the case, then guys, I'm going to stand in the queue before launch. Virtual online queue, obviously. So guys, there you go. Hope this video helps. And if there is anything, if there are any questions, please do comment down below. I will make sure that I respond to all of them. And yes, if you find this video helpful, then please like it, share it, and please do subscribe so I can continue making these videos. And as always, thanks a lot for staying with me until the end. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.